Imagine walking into the highest-end boutique in the wealthiest district of your city. You possess unlimited capital. You are ready to spend tens of thousands of dollars on the spot. But as you step up to the immaculate, perfectly lit display case, there is absolutely nothing inside. This barren glass box is the result of a highly engineered, meticulously maintained psychological strategy. For most of human history, a mechanical wristwatch served a single critical purpose, telling the exact time. Today, that function is entirely obsolete. A basic smartphone synchronizes to atomic clocks, offering a level of precision that a mechanical gear train can never physically match. The mechanical watch industry should have died. Instead, Rolex secured a monopoly over the projection of power, status, and identity, leaving the mere measurement of seconds to their competitors. To understand how a watchmaker secured this grip on the global luxury market, we have to examine how they initially manipulated the world's perception of pure mechanical utility. The Swiss watchmaking industry of the early 20th century was an exercise in delicate craftsmanship. The timepieces of this era were fragile artifacts designed strictly for gentle environments, boardrooms, parlors, and the quiet estates of the European elite. Founder Hans Wilsdorf operated on a contrary vision. He believed a precision instrument belonged in the harshest conditions on Earth. He wanted a mechanism capable of surviving extreme physical trauma, deep water pressure, and shifting altitudes. This cross-section schematic details the architecture of Wilsdorf's 1926 breakthrough, the Oyster case. By forcing the outer bezel, the solid caseback, and the winding crown to screw down directly against the middle section, the design effectively creates a miniature hermetically sealed vault. The interlocking threads eliminate the most persistent threat to delicate mechanical gears, microscopic dust and moisture. By physically locking the movement away from the elements, the design exponentially extended the lifespan of the interior gears. But an impenetrable vault is useless if the public does not believe the engineering actually works. Wilsdorf required undeniable, highly public proof. In 1927, a young British swimmer named Mercedes Gleitz spent over 10 hours battling the freezing waters of the English Channel. Around her neck hung a Rolex Oyster. When she emerged from the grueling swim, the press gathered, examined the timepiece, and found it ticking flawlessly. That single heavily publicized endurance test permanently associated the Rolex name with indestructible reliability. Wilsdorf had successfully rebranded the Swiss watch into a piece of survival equipment. As the mid-20th century approached, global culture became obsessed with physical exploration. Humans were pushing into hostile environments, scaling the highest peaks and diving into uncharted ocean depths. Rolex met this era by developing highly specialized tool watches. They engineered the Submariner specifically for the lethal, high-pressure reality of deep-sea diving, featuring rotating bezels that allowed divers to track their remaining oxygen supply. Simultaneously, they expanded onto the asphalt of high-stakes motorsport. The Daytona chronograph was calibrated to allow drivers to calculate precise average speeds and lap times while traveling at hundreds of miles per hour. Then, a subtle psychological shift occurred in the market. The general public began to recognize these specific models on the wrists of men who risked their lives for a living. The steel instrument transitioned into a physical badge of extreme human achievement. Wealthy individuals who had never worn a wetsuit or sat in a race car began purchasing these tools to acquire the psychological association. Wearing a Submariner or a Daytona allowed an accountant or a banker to project the bravery, danger, and ultimate success of a professional explorer. By crowning the wrists of extreme achievers, Rolex successfully separated the object from its utility. The precision instrument had evolved into an aspirational identity. As decades passed, the extreme explorers of the mid-century were replaced by global celebrities, Fortune 500 CEOs, and world leaders. The brand's association pivoted seamlessly from physical dominance to financial and cultural dominance. This graph illustrates the core economic principle powering the modern Rolex empire. In standard economics, as the price of a good rises, the demand for it steadily drops. But observe what happens when a product crosses a specific threshold of prestige. This reversal is known as the Veblen effect. It describes a psychological phenomenon where demand sharply increases in direct proportion to a product's price and its extreme exclusivity. The difficulty of obtaining the item becomes the primary reason people want it. Rolex weaponizes this economic principle with absolute surgical precision. Despite possessing the manufacturing capability to flood the market, they enforce strict production caps, intentionally keeping the global supply drastically below the crushing global demand. This artificial scarcity gave birth to the infamous Rolex waitlist. It creates a bizarre power dynamic where highly successful, incredibly wealthy individuals are forced into a submissive position, compelled to wait years, begging an authorized dealer for the mere privilege to spend their money. The raw materials, the surgical steel, the proprietary gold, do not account for the price. Buyers on the secondary market routinely pay double, sometimes triple the retail value, solely for the brand name stamped on the dial. Rolex's ultimate creation is a psychological mirror reflecting human ambition back at the wearer. In the highest echelons of society, the gatekeepers have made ownership a matter of